So first, let me see Berm what's going on.
Hold on one second. All right. All right, how do I... Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Let me close out of this emulator.
And fine-ish. Your guys' environment is good, right? Like you're not having any configuration.
Other than the thing,
Say again?
it's fine. Other than that weird save thing for APM?
Yeah. All right.
I don't think mine is having issues. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Yeah, but we gotta reset your thing when you get your MacBook. But that should be straight. You order the M1, right? Fa?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, shit, it's so annoying. Do you see? You guys see? You see where when you're in Android Studio and you're supposed to go to Tools or whatever,
Yeah.
and open up AVD Manager.
Yeah.
Every time I go up here, it keeps switching to Teams. You see that?
Right when you scroll
Instead
up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Android, and then it switches to Teams.
That's because you haven't maximized, I think.
I mean, all it is this little presenting bar right here, up here.
That's weird. Doesn't happen to me.
Let me stop presenting. Let me open it, and then I'll present again. Hold on.
Right.
All right. Can you see now?
Yeah.
All right. So I have two Pixels. The one that I was having problems and I didn't made the Pixel 3a. Right. So everything is the same except the name. Right. It's still Android 11. I don't know what else, but it's just called Pixel 3a. So when I open it, it opens up fine. All right, now if I go to the apps, it doesn't have the shipped app here.
Try to drag and drop it into it.
From where?
Wherever you have the APK file.
Okay. That would be workspace. So just drag and drop like that?
Yeah, you'll see it installs right away.
All right, so that's fine. It installs, but what's the reason? Oh, okay. All right, that worked. But like, why isn't it reading it? Shouldn't it automatically?
It should.
read it?
That's why I was confused.
That's not what we.
In Appium,
It sounds there.
yeah. So if in Appium, if you're pointed to that APK file correctly, it should have installed it. Okay.
That would be an Appium, not for this specific emulator, right? But for the configurations of the Appium.
Yeah. Like in Appium, you have it pointed to the APK file, right? You have the correct file path. In that case, the setup step for Appium should be to install it into whatever emulator you specify. So but let's still see that it works. Pull up Appium with it, and we'll also make sure that your code can run it as well.
Yeah, I gotta do this shit all the time too, just like ish and fa. So this one is 3A. So that's all I have to change, right?
Yeah. As long as it's in that same place. And wait, is the Pixel 3a 11 or 12, the platform version?
It's 11.
All right. Okay, let's let it run then.
Yeah, it's 11.
All right.
Error. Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah. Platform name.
Yeah, so this part works. It opens up and whatnot. Yeah, so that part's good. It's linked up and whatnot.
Yeah, but I'm not sure why it's not pulling up the app.
Well, is it supposed to automatically pull up the app?
Yeah. Try it
I didn't
again.
know that. I mean, I can manually pull it up.
Oh yeah, if you could manually do it, then let's do it as a workaround. So all right, do that and refresh it. As long as it highlights it, you're fine. But it should still be doing that automatically. It's these weird erratic behaviors everyone's having.
Yeah, so it's synced, right? If this opens up with this, that means it's synced up,
Let's
right?
make sure, hover over the green button and click it, and let's make sure the proper accessibility ID shows up. The one right, yeah, that one, where it highlights the whole green button. Yep, that should be correct. Scroll to the next page, and do one thing. You'll see the tap button up top. Click that. Let's make sure it processes. Yep, you're good.
So now you want me to run the program?
Yeah, let's see if that works as well.
Can you just make sure this stuff is run as Pixel? That's the only thing I would need to change, right? Pixel 3a.
Yeah. Like as long as it matches the exact same caps you just used for Appium, it should run perfectly well. Nothing else needs to change.
All this stuff shouldn't change.
That's
That's what the APK is. All right, so let's try it. Yeah, so I get. Oh, I think something too many times.
Let me read it. Scroll to the right. Could not proxy command to the remote server. All right, restart Appium. Oh, you have like 3 of them open. Try to close a few of them out, so that only one instance is open.
Where do you see that?
I just saw it.
These are any. I'll close it out now, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
Plus, when I run the app, should this start over? Like, you know how in the emulator I'm already in the shipped app. When I run the app, it's supposed to start over.
It shouldn't pull it up like that, but start server for now. And after you got that running, no, don't even open the inspector yet. This is, right now that the server is running, now you should be good. Like this, you should be good to code. Good to have your code run. So let's go back to Eclipse and hit run. All right, so it's querying, but it's still getting an error. Yeah,
I wasn't getting this error before. This looks different. Actually, I think I was looking at this and it was saying that it can't find this.
Yeah, but right now you got a WebDriver exception. Previously you showed a no such element exception. Go to the Appium logs. Let me read it for a second. Bring that to focus in the middle. Yeah, just bring that to focus in the middle so I could read the entire thing. Okay. I think this still has to do with you remember that link I showed you to cold boot it? Did you configure it for that?
Yeah.
And you did that with the Pixel 3a?
Yeah.
Let me see it. Open it up one more time to because it's for some weird reason
you mean?
Yeah, through Android Studio. Let's open up the AVD manager and
I gotta stop presenting again.
Okay.
So Pixel 3a, go to edit, advanced, code boot.
All right.
What's that one?
All right, do this. Cancel that, and I saw an option in that drop down, one of the icons. Yeah, click that, and do a wipe data. Not wipe running. All right, yeah, close that out first. Yeah, now you can wipe it.
Open it back up?
No, don't open it because you just closed it to wipe it. So wipe it first.
Well, I did already, so I think the size went down by a lot.
You click the wipe data button?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't even see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and run it. After it finishes loading, we're not gonna pull up shipped just yet. We're gonna, well, let's see what happens.
Okay, it's up.
All right, let's try to run it now. Yeah, first start Appium. Server is already running, so now just go to your code and try to hit run. All right, give me a second. So still gives no such element exception. For some reason, it's not pulling it up.
Well, now shipped isn't in here anymore.
Yeah, but it should still install that for you. All right, do it again. Go to the inspector and open up ship that way without installing it. I want to see what happens. So open the inspector through Appium, yeah. Yeah, you see at this part, for some reason, it's not booting it up to the app. I gotta see why that is.
Is there something wrong with the shipped APK that I have?
No, you're using the same one the rest of us are using. I'm trying to think.
Still here.
Yeah, I've never seen this. All right, let me look into it a bit. I mean, I understand your issue now. So after the class, I'll look into it and let me see if I can find some suggestions because I don't know anything immediate as to why this is happening. But yeah, let me look into it. I'm trying to see if there's any kind of hint here. Let me just do one quick Google search. 3 minutes. If I can't find it in 3 minutes, we'll move on, and I'll do this afterwards and see what's up.
Does it have something to do with my configuration?
I don't think so, because you have everything that, unless anyone can point out seeing something missing, but I don't see anything you'd be missing.
Should I try another emulator?
Let me give you one thing. Hang on. All right. Let me post something in the chat and add this as a desired capability. Let me see if it helps. All right. Try to put that as a desired capability. Share your screen again.
In
Let's
the
try,
code?
Yeah. Try it in the code. Also, just to experiment, let's comment out line 32 and 33. Yeah. So obviously,
So should I put in desired capability?
yeah, exactly as the others. and they'd both be strings, your parameters. I think you might have misspelled it. Or just hit save, see if that works. Oh, no, you need a comma to separate them. That's a colon. Alright, save and let's try that.
Run it again.
Yeah. Pull up Appium in the process so I could read the logs. No, it didn't work. All right, let me look into it. I have an idea what's going on, so let me look into it and I'll follow up with you. But you Google yourself.
I'm gonna comment this out for now.
Yeah, leave it as it originally was. For now, I'll share my screen.
All right.
All right. All right, hang on. All right, so I know yesterday's lesson was a little overwhelming, and I was looking over what to go over today, and I'm still gonna go over the design architecture type thing, but today's won't be as hard, and I realized I should have actually probably prefaced it with this because it's actually a little easier or more intuitive, I should say. We're still gonna go for that approach where, so I reset everything that's so such that it's familiar to, and what I mean by that is I got your page objects. I just didn't fill them out. I didn't waste my time in that. But so right here, I'm just assuming saucedemo.com. So as I go through this example, just assume I'm running through sauce demo, and let's just forget about this for now because ultimately, outside of a few library differences, they're all really the same thing. Like the same principles for automating a website is the same principles you'd use for automating Appium or mobile apps. So there's no need to use that. So let me move these to separate screens for now. All right. Yeah, so like I said, you got your basic page objects. All of this should be familiar. What we're just gonna do is anytime we run something, it's just gonna be as along the test runner class. That's just what I call it. If you want to think of it as the execute class, think of it that way. But like before, it extends from hooks. You got your before method, your after method, and you should already know it goes inside both. I'm not gonna rehash that. And that test runner extends from it. You run your test case here and you're good. And what you're regularly used to is the old-fashioned way, where you're just using the page object model pattern. So let me put a separate method for it. I'm going to use add test public void, let's say old test, right? Which indicates how we're used to doing things. So I already put these method signatures in without filling them in. So let me just go through what a basic what we're used to, how a basic test looks, right? So in the hooks, in the setup method, you instantiate the driver, and this would have the quit method. And since test runner is extending from hooks, that since you already have your page objects to the left, you can start instantiating them, and this is how we're regularly used to. So obviously first you got your login page, you got your and I only put 4 pages, so just use your imagination. Obviously I skipped around a lot. Next would be product page, right? I'll import all that later. Then you got your checkout page. Then finally you got your confirmation page. right, let me import all that. And let me write down the test case because that's, again, is however you're used to doing things, right? So login page has enter username. I'll just put whatever username. Enter password. You click your login button. Then let's say you land on the product page, and let's say here you select product, I think. Yeah, select product. Then you're in the checkout page, right? And in checkout page, you would enter first name, enter a last name, enter address. I don't think let's say you where is it? Let's say click ship button, as in, you know, you entered your information and you're ready to hit the ship button, or order button, I should say. Click order button. And obviously you click order button, and then when you're in the confirmation page, you just said, all right, it shows you your order was successful, and you click done, right? So obviously this is what you guys are used to, but you know, your natural question was, hey, this is extremely repetitive, and if I'm just like yesterday, and yesterday was a kind of different concept, but it all falls in line with it, right? I taught you one type of design pattern yesterday, and I'm going to teach you a new type of one today. So the thing is, you know, this is the good thing about the page object model pattern, is it's very simple, right? You can, you know, you could kind of walk along each of the steps, and you'll kind of understand what's going on there, even though it's, you know, you're rehashing the same thing. So it works when you're a beginner level coder. It works. It gets the job done. But as soon as things start crashing, like let's say you logged in at this step, right? And let's say you merely forgot to enter this step, right? The select product button. But obviously we know we can't get to the checkout page without having selected a product, right? So if you try to enter first name, does anyone know what kind of exception you're gonna get specifically? If let's say, so what's happening here is it's trying to query up for whatever product here, but we forgot to add this step. So let's say if I hit run, what would happen? Like what kind of exception would I get? Assume again, the saucedemo.com.
It wouldn't find the location to enter your first name.
Right. Do you remember that exception name? You would have hit it plenty of times by now, I think. So it will be the no such element exception, right? It's trying to query up for that enter first name, that checkout page's first name, you know, data field, but that's in a separate page, right? But because you forgot to click select the product, it's going to try to query up for that first name field in the product page, right? And just simply because you forgot it, your whole test fails, right? Because obviously without having selected the product, all of these are moot, right? Because you can't get to the confirmation page without having, you know, enter the first last address and clicking order button, right? So your entire test fails. And what they call it in the industry is like, not only flaky tests, they're extremely error prone, right? So imagine a 1,000 test case suite. Like this is just one scenario, so you're most likely not going to screw up. But once you're writing 1,000 plus test cases, you're bound to screw up, right? And if you keep adding it, like if I were to keep adding more test cases, let's say let's say one piece of the UI changes, right? Where I have to maybe scroll down. Like let's say there's a scroll down step right here, slightly, right? You could picture that. If I even had to scroll down or something like that, because of that one small change in the UI, which, you know, in the end it's bound to happen. It's gonna happen period, right? All of a sudden, because you always entered the select product, you know, at this phase, because you didn't scroll down in any of your test cases, all 1,000 of those are gonna fail, right? So you gotta be really like, you know, you gotta have some forethought, and if you keep following this pattern, which is fine at first to get you know, get your training wheels on, it's fine at first. but you need to kind of break the habit, and that you need to think of like a more of a, you need more forethought from an architectural perspective. Otherwise, you're just going to keep doing this, and you're not going to be a very effective programmer, where you might as well just test manually, right? Because your scripts just aren't, they're not good. So we're going to get into another way of doing things here. So like we said before, one immediate example, I think either Ish or Berm or Fop, well, one of you guys pointed out yesterday, was why not just include all of this in one, like, one thing, one class where it all happens, in a single line, right? So, we had a way of doing things yesterday, but we'll do it slightly different today. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a navigate2 class, right? So it's kind of I put it in the default package right here, and you could kind of already anticipate where I'm going for here. Like, I want to make this such a comprehensive class method that, for instance, what I could do is, so I'll always have the test runner now. So I'm good with the examples now with the page objects. And I'll put test runner over here. And let's call this optimal test, right? So slightly better than this, right? But there's always going to be room for improvement. Hang on. Okay. So I'll exit a login page just so you just see navigate2 and test runner. So whatever I do here, it's going to wind up over here, and you'll see the immediate day and night difference, right? So let me maximize it a bit. So my thing is, at the very least, I mean, you're taking my word that we're gonna at least put everything in here, this navigate2 class. So at the very least, all these page objects should be in here. So why not start with the constructor where I do all that from the very beginning, right? And obviously I'm going to need the driver, just like because I intend to instantiate this here. Like, I'm creating the skeleton for it here, but I do know the test runner ideology is still very valid, right? You're going to still use this test runner extends hooks, before, because you don't want to get rid of these functions, right? Like, you could obviously do it a different way, but this is very optimal in itself, where, after every test run, it just simply by having this annotation there, it quits for you and it restarts again. That you don't want to give up, because that's very effective, right? It's this part that's not effective, and that's the thing you want to replace or find a way to replace. So I'm not gonna code it right here just yet, but I'm gonna, I'm telling you now, we're gonna do it in a way where it's one line. So you already know, if I'm telling you the only real class I'm creating here is navigate2, you see what I'm going for. Like, I'm trying to say, all right, if I use navigate2 and I pass in a parameter telling it to go to product page or checkout page or confirmation page, it should be comprehensive enough for it to actually navigate to it with one line, right? So we're gonna figure out how to do that. And I'm creating a constructor because yeah.
Use a switch.
Say again?
A switch?
Yeah, you can use a switch, but a switch isn't really any different from a switch. Looks nicer, right? But I'm gonna stick with if statements for now, just because I don't want to go into, like, how a switch statement works. But it's the same concept. But yeah, exactly. But we'll see. But yeah, Ish, you should you should have this mentality of how else can I do things, right? So let's say at the very least we still want to keep our page objects. This is not to say that page objects themselves are a problem, because they still work, right? They're still very descriptive, right? So you don't want to throw the whole concept away. The only thing you want to change is you don't want to rehash it. You don't want to keep using the same exact things in every single line, right? Like, if you're doing the same thing over and over again. So obviously you'll still need the page objects, right? And in order to do that, I could instantiate it in here, right? And I also need the driver pass. So I know at the very least I'll still need the driver passed, right? Why? Because
Using APM driver?
No, because I'm assuming this is sauce demo for now. But yeah, in Appium you would do this. So I'm showing it to you in a sauce. I'm assuming sauce demo because we're all much more familiar with it. But it's the same idea, right? Okay. And like I said, the page object hold pattern is still very valid, right? So I'm gonna have a separate method, right? And you could already start picturing it where, all right, I got two methods. One is a constructor, where I want to start instantiating the classes. Very much like what I'm doing right here, right? This step should still happen. But also to make it flexible. What I mean by flexible is I don't want all of this to be here again, right? Because if I do that, and if I instantiate this, you guys get what I'm saying, right? So watch what I'm highlighting. If I'm just throwing all of this in here, right, and I'm passing a driver in, yeah, this would work, but then I have zero flexibility. And what I mean by that, I'll show you. Like for now, I won't use start, but let's see what happens. So I could copy paste all the page objects, right? And if I were to do this, driver, this would still work, right? There's no error here, but the problem is I have no flexibility in what I want to do, and I'll show you what I mean by that.
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I'll save it for later.
No, go ahead. Let me no, do
I'm figuring that you just, you have the if statements, right? Like let's say navigate to login page, you just have the steps to navigate to login page.
Right.
And then let's say navigate to checkout page. So if you get the parameter saying navigate to checkout page, you do login page and then checkout page, right?
Right. But there's more to it. Yeah, go ahead.
But for apps, like there are different ways to get to certain places, right? So how do you know that, that's how I'm sure there are scenarios where I want to navigate to checkout page, but I'm not starting at the product page. I'm starting somewhere else.
No, I got your point. That's a common concern. Like a lot of times, and that even happens with the apps I automate. Like let's say there's one page, right? And it has three. They call it entry points, right? So let's say in order to get to, let's say you're automating a bank app, right? And let's say to get to the profiles and settings, there's 3 entry points. You could get it, through the main menu, through the pre-login menu, etc., right? And at any point, it could be the case where it seems to work post-login, right, through the settings, but for whatever reason, pre-login, that's where the step is failing. So you definitely need to keep that as a concern. But as simple as that sounds, to architect it right, that requires a little more. It's almost, I'd have to keep going. You get what I'm saying? Like I'd have to kind of expand on what I'm about to right now. And right now I just want to kind of instill what you should be looking for. So you can discover that yourself. Does that make sense? So right now I'm just want to, I want to get to it. It's not only just going to be an if-else statement. It's going to be a little more, but you'll see in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I said before, I don't want to instantiate it all over here because I have zero flexibility. Right? And that's a problem because then it's really no better than what I'm doing here, right? Yeah, there's a lot of steps, but you could easily have an argument that, all right, I could just copy paste, so I go through all this trouble, right? So at the very least, let's take out all the steps here and at least segregate it to, in a sense, to over here, right? Where let's say you're trying to do this step and you're trying to have some layer of separation so you have more flexibility. But obviously this is giving me an error. So do you guys have any suggestions as to how I could fix this right here?
Well, you got to put the object outside of that function.
Right. Keep going. Tell me what to do.
So you just copy paste 12 to 15 and put it at line 9.
Right. So at the very least, I need to have these these within scope. They're not in scope, right? So I need to have
So
right, and I can instantiate them here. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's do that. Right, Berman 5, you guys got that, right? So in order for this method to have access to these page objects, I gotta, scope them here. By scoping, I mean Otherwise, they're trapped in here in this function. Yeah. Okay. Right, and all I need to do now is just have this statements. All right, so at the very least, at this point, what I can do, and this is gonna look cooler and cooler in a bit, like as I keep adding stuff into it. But now, look at what I could do. Like, yeah, I could instantiate it and just leave it, but that won't do anything, right? Let me see what this is giving an error. Oh, driver. Like, point is, at this stage, I could at least have this instantiated without, without starting it. But at this point, I could do start, right? Because, this belongs to that method. But obviously, this is still not doing anything. So not near as impressive as it should be, because it's not really doing much, right? Okay. Now, I'm using a general purpose term like navigate to, because I'm implying I want to be able to navigate to any type of page by maybe like passing the correct parameter. So if I pass a parameter to this for product page, it should help me out with that, or checkout page or confirmation page, right? So let's do that. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
So right now, navigate to is a class, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm asking like if this would also work. Like, let's say instead of this, you just made a whole navigate section in hooks, right? So all page objects or whatever have these navigate functions, right? So when I put navigate login page dot navigate to checkout page, it understands that you're starting from login page and going to checkout page. So that way it solves that problem where different pages have different starting points. So if you're starting from login page, then there's a specific route
you're always going to start from login page, whether you like it or not, right? So let's think of another example. You mean like, so you're saying maybe as an example, I don't know, this is not a good way to, I get what you're saying, but let's think of something better. Let's go to sauce demo. All right, but you see what I mean. You can't avoid this in this case, right?
Yeah.
So let's see if there's another better way to. So how about, you mean like, let's say you're in the about page. This is not this redirects to a site. So let's say you want the starting point to be like the product page, right? Is that what you're saying? And then you want to go to cart.
So like, whatever you want to call this, I guess, like, I don't know, inventory page or something, right?
Right.
If you do inventory page dot navigate to and then take the parameter checkout,
right,
it's gonna understand that you're coming from inventory page because that's the object that's calling it, and
right.
So it knows which route to take based on what page you're on.
Right.
Like is that like something that would work, or
it would work? I get what you're saying. So you're saying if you want to, like, let's say you're saying let's start here, and let's say if you go to the cart page properly, right? I mean, you still got to remember, you still have to list out the steps, right? Unless you find a better way to do it.
But let's say whenever you start, you create a inventory page object.
Right.
The route is like in the constructor, like it's not like
let's assume what you mean right now is the product page is the inventory page, right? And so what you're saying is, what if you have like a navigate section or a navigate method to
so maybe like under super, you can have like, this dot route equals route or whatever. where the user doesn't have to enter it as a parameter, but it's just like something that's built into the class. You know, like how before we had certain
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you could do that. But then it's like then it begs the question like, all right, it kind of goes haywire. And what I mean by that, all right, is like, all right, okay, fine. Let's say the cart page, right? But what if you want to go from the cart to the login page, or what if you want to go to the cart to, let's say the cart page to the whatever is here. It's not, none of it's linkable. You get what I'm saying? So there could be like so many entry points. Then you could do all that if you wanted, and you could do it in a way where the user doesn't have to know the implementation details. But you got to ultimately determine if it's worth it, and it's usually
it just
not. Yeah.
complicated.
Say again?
It seems more complicated than it needs to be.
Right, exactly. But I get your concern. But usually entry points aren't a huge thing. If they are, there's a better ways to do it than yeah, but you can do it the way you suggested. Like if you did want to do it that way, yeah, there's nothing stopping you from creating like a thing. Like let's say so you're in the product page and you want to go to the confirmation page, right? So yeah, you could do that. So you could pass it as like a thing. Even though it's a page object, you could pass it. So you're saying navigate to confirmation page. You mean like this?
Yeah. Or like just how it's just the same how it accepts a parameter like navigate to, and then the parameter is the page.
Yeah, you could do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. But
Yeah, we don't have to waste time on this.
no, I got you. But I'm just telling you, the return of investment doesn't seem to be worth it. Yeah, you could do all that, but it's probably not worth it. So that would be my answer. Yeah. Okay. But back to this, like we said, so obviously we want some control over it. So we would instantiate the navigate to class, and once we do the start method, you should go by it. But obviously this is not enough control. I want it such that based on the parameter I pass, it's gonna go to that page, right? So do you guys have any ideas how I could begin by doing that? So I want to be able to pass something to the navigate to, and Ish was actually just mentioning, so that's your hint. So I want to be able to pass a parameter in such that I can navigate to that exact page, right? How could I begin by trying to address that? You got what I'm saying? Like if I instantiate navigate to, I want to be able to pass a parameter to it where that's all I'd have to do, and it would navigate to it. Obviously after I'd coded the logic, but how would I begin by doing that?
In the navigate to class, you need to accept an argument.
Yeah. Keep going.
Do you have to accept the class as an argument?
Yeah, exactly. Keep going. So we'll say it has a second argument, right? So what do you think is the argument? You're on the right track. You just have to find out what is that second argument. What would it be?
Would it be
This is a trick question.
Optimal test?
No. It's gonna be. All right. The other hint is it's not gonna be anything outside of whatever classes we already have. So what do you think it is? So just look at the left panel. That's all the classes we have. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 classes. So which one would it be among these?
Would be everything extends from
right
base page, right?
So what do you think is the argument? I mean, you're on the right track. You're on the right line of thought. Just dig deeper and you'll have the answer.
I would think, would it be the base page?
Yep, that's it. That's it. No, that's it. Exactly. So and that was good because that was a trick question. But you had to remember. I mean, you could kind of deduce it because obviously if I only accept like confirmation page, that rules out everything else, right?
Yeah.
If I do that, then what if I wanted to go to the login page or product page? I can't do that anymore, right? I could try to, if I were to pass like, so let's do it like new navigate to accepts the driver. Let's say new product page. It's gonna give an error because why? Because it doesn't match. It doesn't match what it's trying to get here, right? There's only that confirmation page, right? So instead of confirmation page, use whatever you extend it from, which is the base page, because all of these extended from base page, like you could see, product page. They all have that tag idea to it, right? So remember by tags is similar to what we were talking about yesterday with the interfaces. So all of these concepts kind of intertwine a bit. But let's go back to navigate to. All right, this won't work. So instead of confirmation page, let's say base page. And I don't want to say base page here because it's not descriptive enough. Let me import it. I can still import it. So what do you think a better name for it is based on what my intent is for the class? You can use any name, but I just want a better one than base page.
Or like base navigation page.
Yeah, navigation page or page to navigate to, right? Let's go with that one. Oops. Page to navigate to, because it's still English. Then you gotta make sure your variables are aligned right. But okay, so far so good. But remember, our logic is still over here, where we want it to be, right? So what else do we need to do? So we got the page to navigate to. What else do we need to do? Because, like Ish was saying, the if-else statements have to go here, because in here is where we're gonna, and here's the actual steps are happening, right? So what I mean by that is if I wanted to land on the login page, I wouldn't go past here. I wouldn't even enter the username probably, right? I would stop somewhere around here. If I wanted to go to the product page, it would be over here. Checkout page here. Regardless, I need to know these steps need to have to know where you're trying to navigate to. So how do I begin by doing that? So let me put this step right here so you guys have an idea of it. Let's say new confirmation page. Right, so this is pretty much close to finished because remember I just wanted the one line, right? But look at the trail of trail it out. So this would be the optimal test. This is what I'm trying to run. This is accepting that confirmation page because I'm trying to ultimately navigate to it. We said we're instantiating it, putting it all here. This has the logic, right? But this has to know when to stop, right? So let's say you say confirmation. Let's say you want to stop at the checkout page, right? So how does this know where to stop? Use this. Right now we're just accepting it, but we're not doing anything to it. So how do we begin? By doing something with
it. Can you put the if else statement in there, in the navigate to method?
In here, you're saying?
Or you wanted to put it in the start method?
Well,
yeah.
Let's analyze it. So in here, like I said before, right, the steps are happening over here. And what I mean by that is, so let me separate it so you get what I'm trying to say here. So for instance, if the parameter being passed here is login page, right, there would be a whole if statement over here saying, all right, stop here. If it was a thing like the product page, it would go up to here. So all the if statement logics are over here, right? But the problem is this doesn't have access to this yet. How do I give it access? Where this has remember, this is still accepting the argument, so I could use it here, but I need to use it here. So how do I begin by doing that? Same exact concept with this, so don't overthink it.
Oh, so first you have to put in base page.
Where?
Above, like
Give me
inside
the
the
line.
class.
Give me the line you want.
Above the line 17.
Yep, we could do that. Let's put it here, even better, line 12. But yeah, you're right so far. So we'll call it exactly what we called it here, page to navigate to. Right? Okay, what else?
And then at line 31, can you do instantiate it?
So we're instantiated over here, right? But we're passing that reference in here. So it's already been instantiated. Now I need a way to compare it. So you're right with this part.
All right, so you do.
Yeah.
So you can do the line, 26, 27.
Right. Yep.
You could do this dot page to navigate to.
Yep.
To
that one. Yep. Right. So now this has that reference. Now it gets to be, usable over here. Right. So now we're.
How come you didn't have to put in new in that one?
Because look, we already instantiated it here. Right.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So this is basically, I'm just trying to get you familiarized with this because regularly you're used to, this being locked up in some type of variable, but you could just pass it, and as long as it's passing, this acts as the variable, right? So this didn't get lost in the ether, like, because this is this has direct reference to it. Yeah. And now you took that, you grabbed it, and you put it in here now. Now it's locked up in here after you run the constructor. All right, so far so good.
Now you could.
Yeah.
Like you do if else statements.
Yep, exactly. So
you can say if page to navigate to is whatever.
Right, exactly. So let's do let's say login page first, right? So page to navigate to, right? And I'll teach you this part because I didn't exactly go over it. So now we know here whatever is passed in here has been locked into here, right? But since it's a class, there's a specific way to get the class, and this method called get class belongs to any class, right? So let's do that. So let's say this dot, if this dot page to navigate to dot get class is equal, and this is also kind of new, where you guys were kind of used to it but not really. So in this case we'll say login page dot class. So let me enter all this down. So just
you have to do dot class.
Hang on. Yeah. So this is a slightly new idea. So basically, I got the class instance, right? In this case it's checkout page, but let's say this was login page, right? So you're passing that login page, haven't already been instantiated. That gets passed here. That gets locked up in here, right? And since that's a regular class now, you get the class, right? As in the reference to it. Right, and then you just make sure it's equal to login page.class. But this method right here and this method right here, it belongs to any single class you create. Like I could have done just as a hypothetical, like hooks.class. Let me see. This is hooks. So look at what it's saying. Incompatible operand type class extends base page, right? So this is a base page, so it's not going to be compatible with hooks, right? But this is login page because that extends from base page. But let me not confuse you. But you guys get that idea, right? Like just look at it for a second. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just got to get used to the syntax a bit, but it's nothing crazy. All right. So in that case, yeah, this works because this is saying, all right, if this is equal to login page, just do this, right? Just assume we're doing this and we're fine with this, right? Let's keep going.
Do you have to break afterwards?
Well, let's see. There might be a better way to do it. You don't have to break because it's not a while loop, right? So how do I continue the logic for if I wanted to land on the product page, knowing that the product page is the very next page? So help me out with that.
Would you do another if statement?
Okay. Help me out. Help me filling this out.
If this dot page to navigate to dot get class equals product page dot class. Then you would put the product page in there.
Tell me what I need to copy and paste or anything.
Well,
In the
first you
body.
need to. Okay, so I guess you need to copy and paste the entire login process.
Right, yep, I was just seeing if you got that, but that's true. Like if I didn't do this, this would get a null pointer exception because you still have to do the login process. Don't forget about that. Right?
Well, what if you put the if statement, the second if statement within the first if statement, so that the first if statement always runs, and then the second one only runs?
You could do that, and this is like I'm saying, I'm not going for the optimal route here, right? I'm just trying to highlight it. But yeah, this is right here what we're doing right now. This is definitely not optimal. It's just for demo purposes we're doing that, but never feel restricted. Like if you feel there's a better way to do it, do that instead. Okay, does this look good so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say it looks good to me so far. Nothing wrong. Let's complete it. We'll separate this. Let's do checkout page now. So I'll help you type it out because I think you guys got it for the most part. Fine-ish. You guys are good? None of this is too crazy just yet, right? I think you guys are on mute.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And last.
Why not save yourself some lines and for like the first one that says for login page, why not just have that like just not have an if statement at all?
You could do
Because
that, but
you could always
like I said, I'm not trying to go for optimal right now. I'm just trying to go for demo. And yeah, definitely, like I'm telling you right now, this is me telling you this is not the best. This is not a good way to do it because I'm repeating it myself over and over again, right? But the thing about this is it's very readable, right? Yeah, it's very bloated, but it's readable. But if you guys want to experiment, be my guest. That's what I want you to do. But for this, I just want for video purposes to highlight exactly what's going on, right? Like if I wanted to throw in anything I want here, you could go block by block and see that it's going there. But yeah, this is not optimal at all. Period. So if you find a better way to do it, experiment. Don't wait for me to tell you what to do. This is just for me to show you that there's different ways of doing things, right? And at that point we could hit start, right? But there's another problem here, in that this will work fine, but we got to remember that we got a whole username and password thing to keep track of. And this is where this issue was talking about earlier, where he basically he got this part, the switch statement. There's one thing he has to one thing he didn't mention, and this is kind of like the real draw of this approach, right? And that deals with actual parameter passing, because with this there's no real good way to enter. Well, I'm asking you guys, how could I make sure that whatever I do here, I could still account for all these usernames and passwords? Because as you saw with Sal's demo, there was 4 sets of them, right? So what would you think is the best way to do it? Anything. I'll take anything. I don't care if it's a good answer or a bad answer. I just want to know your thought process. So right now I can do this. Say again.
Can you repeat it one more time?
Right, sure. So like look at the test from your class, right? So let's say I wanted to navigate to the confirmation page or the checkout page, right? And as it is right now, I could start this and this will run. But the thing is, I hard-coded and enter username, enter password. I hard-coded username and password, right? So this is what it's going to pass. And it's not actually going to do anything because these are not actual parameters. But even here, you guys know in saucedemo.com, like all of these, let me log out and refresh your memory. There's 4 sets of, data here, right? So just think of what do you think is a good way to
Use the data provider.
Yeah, data provider, right? But I'm talking about this actual class. How do I begin to start? Yeah, I could do a separate data provider
Like
here.
you
Well,
want to pass in the information as a parameter?
well, how else would you do it?
I thought like just data provider, and then the data provider info gets then passed on
No, I
as a
know,
parameter.
but what I'm saying, all right, so
Oh,
this is how a data provider works. Let's say, and this returns thing, a multi-array, and yeah, this is exactly what a data provider is. Obviously, you'd have more logic here, but what I'm saying, Ish, is all right. At this point, yeah, you could you got to give this a name. I don't like this name. Let's say standard.
Username.
Hang on.
If statement, each if statement,
Yeah.
like, is there a way to add like a parameter to like the first if statement for like taking in a string values?
Right. I mean, that is what I'm asking you guys. So, just think about it for a second. But to address, let me address Ish's question first, right? So Ish was saying, yeah, you got your data provider, and like we said, how this works is whatever test annotation you have here, because this links to the standard data provider, right? As highlighted here. Yeah, you could throw in the data, right? And as we saw, if you put string whatever here, yeah, this function, this outer function accepts that argument from here, right? And this is true. But what I'm trying to tell you is how do I pass it in here, right? Because ultimately these are doing the steps. This is entering the username, this is entering the password. What's an efficient way to do it where I'm entering the username and password, such that
when
I
you take the data provider,
uh-huh.
you then does an optimal test then force to accept a
No, yeah,
parameter?
optimal test is, right? Optimal test is this function, but
Yeah.
you see what I'm trying to tell you is how does this accept it? How does navigate to accept it, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying so first optimal test takes the data provider parameter and then you then pass it to navigate to.
Okay,
So
well,
at the end
instruct me
are
through
like
that
adding.
process. Yeah. So tell
So
me like how do I modify navigate to do that in the first place?
you just go to line 19 on navigate to,
Yeah.
and then at the end you do. I guess you could probably. I mean, you could do like two parameters, user and password, or you could do like an array.
That's fair.
Just two.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. This is what I'm trying to lead you to. And I was expecting that answer, right? Because that's what you're familiar with. But the problem with this approach, right? This is what Ish is saying. Like, why not take this such that, well, correct me if, if I'm wrongish, but what you're trying to say is, let's lock it up, locally. And just like the other, page objects. So, Ish, is that what you're saying? And obviously,
Yeah.
in this step, now you got the, now obviously, I'm not going to do it because this is 4 sets of, things right here. But obviously, from here on in, I could just say enter username, and I could reference that username right here. So let me do it for one so you're aware. All right, so instead of these strings, let me put password. Right, and so each of these ones at least have access to the username and password, right? So let me reflect. Well, all right, now I got to do this. All right, username, password, and that's fair. That'll work. But the problem is, what if I wanted to put in try on different types of data, first name, last name, address, etc. What am I going to have to do then? And I want to try all these different permutations of it. What do I do? It's a question, so think it over.
I mean, aren't you getting it from the data provider? So you just add it to the data provider?
Yeah, you keep saying data provider, right? But I'm talking about this. Like, Like, yeah, but like, look at this. You already added two more parameters to it, right? So now are you
Uh-huh.
telling me that anytime there's a new data set, I gotta just keep adding stuff like
Oh,
this?
oh, I think I'm like more users and passwords. Okay,
No.
so uh, hmm.
No, this is good because this is exactly the line of thinking I'm trying to push you towards. Like you get, you guys get where I'm trying to get at, right? What why Ish is pausing there? Because right now I'm telling him, all right, yeah, you got your username and password. That's simple because that's only two sets of data. But in the real world, you're not gonna deal with only username and password. You're gonna have to try on all sets of data. You're gonna have to deal with take a banking app. You're gonna have to deal with thing like address, account number, date of birth, all that stuff, right? You don't want to. You're gonna end up like making a very bloated constructor, right? And even if you wanted to create multiple constructors, you're gonna bloat this side. Either you're bloating this side or you're bloating this side, right? So what's the point of all this optimization if we're just gonna land on square one with all this like inadequacies, right? So just think for a second, if there's anything.
Can you create a separate database and then pass in the database?
Right, you can, but you get where we're like, this like I'm gonna give you the answer now because that I needed you to, get to that point where you're creating like all these types of scenarios in your head like to be able to pass it right. But clearly that requires a whole lot of work, right? So now I'm gonna show you a way to handle that, right? So let's delete this, right? And this again is something new, so I didn't expect you to get that. Okay. Let me just make sure why this is giving an error. All right. So one thing you could do, and this will probably not have been easily obvious to you at first, but the methods inside a class, you're used to seeing them past void, you're used to seeing them past integers, you're used to seeing them past strings, but they could also pass themselves, and we'll see why that's useful. So I'm going to create this. I'm going to call the method using, and you'll see why in a second. All right, so this is giving me an error only because it's expecting a return statement. But just let me type it out, and let me comment this out so you can see the, how it was and how we're doing it better. I'm going to keep the username and password there because that's still valuable because ultimately these steps still need it, right? But the only thing I'm changing is I'm taking this logic and I'm putting it here or here. So that's fine. I put that logic here. I just transferred it over, right? But the thing is, what's the difference with it? And this is the critical piece right here, this return statement. So let's see what that allows us to do. So start, as we know, that lets us execute the methods, right? But instead of handling all this extra data, now that I have a using method, what do you think I do with this? Look at that for a second, and what do you think I need to modify? How do you think I need to modify this such that we can run it while still passing in data?
Can you add it into the end?
Yeah, show me how to do it. Like, tell me exactly what to type.
Like on the test runner, line 16.
Yeah.
Can't you just add the end, like put checkout page dot start dot using or something? I don't know.
Very, very close, but let's see what happens when we do it on right after start. And I'm glad you said start. So nothing's popping out. Why?
I don't know. I thought that would work.
No, you're very close. You just have to think about it for a second. Look at the method signature for using and look at the method signature for start. Don't focus on the parameters or the body. Just focus on this and this.
Would I have to do dot? Oh, no.
What is start returning?
Oh, it's void.
Right. So if I click dot, that means it's not returning anything, right?
Uh-huh.
But what is using returning?
Navigate to.
And what kind of methods does using have? I mean, what kinds of methods does the whole navigate to class have? I mean, list them out. There's only 2.
Start
And
using.
right, exactly. So we know up until this point, we're still in the navigate to class, right? So how about if we do this? So instead of start at first, because you could start, and like you said, we're trying to use using. Hang on.
Okay, so you do dot you do dot using dot start.
Exactly. Right, and now like it said, so let's assume right here you got the username and password. And like Fa said, let's just look at that for a second and just process it. So we took all of this garbage right here, where you don't even want to look at it, right, to something like this that almost looks like pure English. You navigate to, throw in a checkout page using these parameters, and once you're ready, you start. Right?
Yeah, but then once whoever's reading this code, they're gonna have to then go into the navigate to page, and now it looks like a mess.
Yeah, that looks like a mess. But the point is, right? If the point is, anytime I want to do something different, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Let's say
you made one page look easy, but then the page before it is hard to read.
Where is that? Right, but the point is, right, that this whole layer of it is the idea is to make it look modular, not look modular. And what I mean by that is anytime if anything gets broken, you know exactly where to go. And what I mean by that is you could go into that class, and you know all the start logic is in one section. You know the stuff it accepts. You know that it accepts a driver and a page to navigate to. So if anything goes wrong, you know exactly what to look at, right? You know there's a using method, there's a start method, and the navigate to constructor has its logic to deal with, right? It's modular because even if you don't even if you didn't build it out, you could kind of read this part, and it's much more clear what's going on here than over here, right? Because in here it just looks like a series of steps where you're not even sure if it fails, you're not sure where it's going to fail. But because of this, not only is it more elegant looking, it's modular, because what's more important than elegant is modularity, because this you have pieces to go to. Like for instance, what I mean by that is, I don't know, let's say there's something wrong with the data, like for whatever reason your data keeps failing, right? So just you right now you have breadcrumbs, whereas before you wouldn't have, right? Yeah, in this case username and password, you go to it. But since in a general sense, since the using method, let me X this out to show you what I mean by it. So you know that the data, there's something wrong with it, so you just tab into this, and it'll take you to this this logic, and you'll see what's going on. But that's the whole idea behind it. Like, not only does it look elegant, it's going to be easier to write, and people will know exactly what you mean by it. And that's kind of the whole process of software engineering. Like, you make hard things simple, and you just try to focus on efficiency, because once you're dealing with low code bases like this, it's hard to really show you what I mean. But if you have this mentality going forward, you're prone to make much less errors. But that's the idea behind it. So do you guys have any questions? Because that's all I wanted to go over. It's up to you ultimately moving forward with the projects if you want to implement it, but it's better to get practice with it. I just wanted to show you there is, because before I remember you guys were telling me exactly word for word, like this is horrible, like you know, and I told you to wait so we could get to this section. Yeah.
Teaching yesterday, like this is like kind of different than that.
No, this is so I wanted you to link it up together. Yesterday the only thing I introduced was interfaces. right? And yeah, that was the kind of mistake. I should have done this first, and that because this you guys are getting, right? Interfaces has like a little. Accidentally executed that. That's gonna fail. Interfaces is just a slightly added complexity.
So which one are you supposed to use?
No,
This way or this?
you're supposed to use both, but it's up to you. Like you'll still have to use the stuff from before. It all mixes in together. And I didn't use interfaces here because I didn't need to. But if I wanted to go in a bit more, I could have. But I kind of want you guys to piece it together. But look over the video from yesterday, and this I feel like you guys got more. But try to kind of approach that efficiency you see here.
Okay. I think I understand this one a little bit more. I'm like lost with the other one.
No, that's fine. So if I were to make a suggestion, rewatch this and then try to watch the one from before and see if it makes a little more sense.
Yeah. This one is kind of easier on.
Yeah, because this is usually what this means too is called method chaining.
What is it called?
Method chaining. Because you're chaining the constructor and then you're passing in a thing, new method, and you're trying to do it in one line. That's what it refers to.
And so like the way you how you can the using method.
Yeah.
How would I do because this it enters password, username, password, clicks login button. And then what if I want to choose what product it picks? The way I did it before, the original homework for, filter test and whatever, and picking an item
You can still use the page objects for that, right? That's not changing anytime soon.
I had it where I choose what I wanted. How you passed a value for username or password?
Right.
I integer value to pick what item I wanted to add to cart. So how would I add that in? Would that also be part of the using?
You could say no. Let's think of it. That's a very good question. So let's say, no, that's a very good question. Let's say, what do you guys think we could do?
Make a separate using method for that, or would it be in the same using method, but it would be string username in the parameters, string password, and then integer.
Right. So the only rule to follow, you could use another one of this, right? Or you can make it more descriptive. The only rule if you're going to use another method twice is you have to use it where it has different amount of parameters, either different types or different amounts. So let me show you what I mean by that.
If I were to add it in the same using method and I added another parameter to it, but let's say I didn't want to I'm a little confused.
No. Think about it, because you're getting to a very good question. So think about it for a second. For now, I'll just show you what I mean by using. So while you're thinking, I don't really like that this doesn't make sense for using, but let's assume you wanted to do this way. So you could do this. So let's say, and let's make it easier to read. And usually people like doing this, where you could see it phase by phase. I don't know. Let's say you wanted handbag. Right? You can do this. Do you see?
Okay, so you made another using method, right?
Yeah, but I'd rather give this a more descriptive name, let's say with product.
Okay. Right. Okay, got it.
So obviously this is wrong at this point, so you do this.
Okay, so you can make a bunch of these, right?
Yeah. Up to your discretion. Obviously, you could still abuse it and overdo it, where then you wind up right back into square one, like I said before. where you're overdoing it. But it's better to go with this approach first than this, I'd say. Like, have this in mind before you have page objects, because page objects, as you could see, I could screw around with over here, but I still want like this layer to be very intuitive.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Anything else?
Me, no.
Yeah. Okay. Berm, Ish, you guys are good. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I'll just need to review it again.
Yeah, that's fine. But like I said, I already put the videos of yesterday up last night. But look at this first, and then try to see if that the other one makes more sense after. But other than that, this is it. Continue on automating the mobile app. I'm gonna see what's wrong with Berm's. I'm gonna look into troubleshooting it today. But we'll figure out a way if it still doesn't work for you. But if that's all you guys are good with questions, then let's cap it here.
I'm thinking maybe I have to uninstall everything and do it again.
You could try that because maybe that might even be better than wasting time.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of work, but
Yeah, I mean,
do it.
Well, just message me in Teams if you're stuck. I'm like, I'll get back to you right away.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Sounds good.
With like setting up my new MacBook.
Yeah. So let me know right away when that's up. But once you get the new MacBook, it'll be really fast.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right.
Ish, you're good too?
He already left.
Oh. All right. All right. Later.